everywhere. GBS.
A very good evening. You are just in time for GBS News 9. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Tonight, we are having a conversation you don't want to miss. We are talking matters education, precisely the funding and the payment of school fees via eCitizen. I'll be joined live by experts. But first, let us start off with the highlights. President William Ruto held talks with African leaders, among them Rwanda's Paul Kagame, on the sidelines of the ongoing World Government Summit in Dubai. Still on the run, stakes high as detective traces fugitive Kevin Kangeta last fort.
Approved the abolition of the death penalty and agreed that the circumstances attracting death penalty options.
Zimbabwe abolishes imported colonial death sentence. AFCON 2023 culmination. Host Ivory Coast stands Nigeria to cap their 2023 Africa Cup of Nations fairy tale and lift their third title. In our bulletin, President William Ruto on Monday held talks with several African leaders on the sidelines of the ongoing World Government Summit in Dubai. Ruto was invited to deliver a 10-minute address on government acceleration and transformation during one of the sessions on Tuesday morning. Ahead of the meeting, the president said he held talks with his Rwandan counterpart, Paul Kagame. The World Government Summit is a global knowledge exchange platform for governments and was established in 2013 under the leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE. This year's summit, themed Shaping Future Governments, began on Sunday and brings together various heads of government, international organizations, and leaders to discuss innovative solutions for future challenges and fostering international cooperation. Earlier, Ruto met with Faustin Archange, President of Central African Republic, of the sidelines of the summit. Ruto noted that Kenya and the Central African Republic continue to strengthen diplomatic ties for the mutual benefit of their citizens.
But, yes.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm good.
Wait, so my.
We have the entire.
Yes,
Just.
Yes. À chaque fois, nous on se voit, je reprends les contacts pour échanger, mais j'avais pensé que.
Yes.
We did that, and it never happened.
Yes.
So now he's so happy to have you.
I am very happy, my brother.
C'est ce que tu as dit. Et puis, il voulait absolument te rencontrer.
Là,
Et là maintenant,
malheureusement,
he was supposed to go to Kenya for the.
Au
And
Gabon, on m'a demandé
he was the
d'assurer la
mediation
facilitation,
for
j'étais
Gabon.
Kenya has received 11.2 billion Kenya shillings aimed at boosting its clean energy strategy. This approval is part of the Washington-based organization's Renewable Energy Integration Investment Program, which will support Kenya's ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 32% by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2050. Here is the story and more in business.
A $70 million plan to boost Kenya's clean energy strategy has been endorsed. The initial allocation of $46.39 million by the Trust Fund Committee of the Climate Investment Funds is aimed at advancing integration and utilization of renewable energy in the Kenya grid, enabling the country's transition to 100% clean energy by 2030. This approval, as part of the Washington-based organization's Renewable Energy Integration Investment Program, will support Kenya's ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 32% by 2030 and achieve net zero by 2050. Kenya's Climate Investment Fund's Renewable Energy Integration Plan will support access to clean, adequate, affordable and reliable electricity in the country. It is expected to mobilize at least additional $243 million from the public and private sectors through implementing partners, which are the Africa Development Bank and the World Bank Group. Currently, the share of the renewable energy in Kenya is almost 90%, including 45% geothermal and 26% hydropower. In other latest updates, a businessman has been charged with operating a gas filling station illegally in Nairobi. Adan Hassan was arraigned before the senior principal magistrate Esther Kimilu following a warrant of arrest against him. Charges read to him indicate that he has been operating a gas refill business illegally in the industrial area since April 2021. He has been ordered to pay a cash bail of 2 million Kenyan shillings or 5 million Kenyan shillings bond. He was charged days after an explosion at an illegal gas plant in Embakasi that killed 7 and left dozens injured. The owner and 4 NEMA directors were taken to court, and police allowed to conclude investigations before they can be charged.
I will exercise judicial discretion and award the accused person some time as he persuades the High Court for other orders otherwise, and therefore accused person shall be granted bail bond terms, and the accused person shall remain subject of this court in that the High Court has already made a determination that he be brought back for a sentencing, but I will give him some time to be heard in the High Court. In the meantime, accused person shall be released on a bond of 5 million with one surety of similar amount, or a cash bill of 2 million plus 2 conduct persons, pending the hearing and determination of criminal miscellaneous application number 41 of 2021.
Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Kevin Adam Kang'ethe, the primary suspect in the homicide of his girlfriend in the United States, managed to evade police custody at the Muthaiga police station last week. Recent reports suggested that he has been cited in Machakos, Kiambu, and Nairobi following his escape, and reports that a lawyer arrested by the DCI last Friday in connection with the Kang'ethe's escape has been released. Despite his escape from the Muthaiga police station, Kang'ethe remains at large. Susan Nganga with the details.
Kevin Adam Kang'ethe, the prime suspect in the homicide of his girlfriend in the United States, successfully evaded police custody at the Muthaiga police station last week. Recent updates indicate his sightings in Machakos, Kiambu, and Nairobi. According to anonymous police sources, Kang'ethe's phone signal was detected in Machakos County shortly after he escaped from the Muthaiga police station. Investigators are tracing individuals who may have been in contact with him during this period. Beatrice Kang'ethe, also a lawyer, is believed to have been communicating with Kevin and was allegedly taken away by individuals claiming to be police officers on Friday. The Law Society of Kenya has demanded her released and threatened to hold demonstrations outside the DCI headquarters on Kiambu Road.
We wish to condemn in the strongest terms possible this blatant abduction of a member of the legal profession who is entitled under the Constitution to be informed of the reasons of her arrest, to have access to her advocate and to her counsel, and we therefore find the actions of the police to be contrary to the Constitution and a violation of our members' rights.
Beatrice was eventually released this afternoon on 100,000 cash bail. Kang'ethe had previously evaded arrest in the United States, where he was accused of killing his girlfriend Margaret Bitu. Her body was reportedly found in a car parked at Logan International Airport in Boston before Kang'ethe fled to Kenya. The family of Margaret Bitu has come out to express their frustration regarding the escape of the suspect, calling on authorities to apprehend Kang'ethe for their daughter to lay in peace.
There's gross negligence. We are disappointed. We are very, very hurt. He should be under somebody's supervision. He should have been in his shackles.
If Kang'ethe is successfully extradited, he could face charges under federal law in the United States, which could result in life imprisonment or the death penalty for first-degree murder. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Moving on, the High Court suspended the circular issued by Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang requiring parents to pay school fees through the e-Citizen platform. Justice Chacha Mwita gave the order on Wednesday following a petition filed against by a Nakuru-based Dr. Magare Gikenyi. Here are the details.
The High Court has suspended the Ministry of Education's directive requiring payment of fees and other levies in public schools to be done through e-Citizen. Milimani Law Court Judge Chacha Mwita issued the order on Wednesday following a petition filed by Nakuru Dr. Magare Gikenyi on Tuesday. Dr. Gikenyi, a consultant, trauma and general surgeon working for the county government of Nakuru, moved to court to challenge the initiative, which he termed as illegal, arguing that it violated the principles of good governance. According to him, parents in rural areas who have been accustomed to paying school fees via non-monetary means will be locked out through this unfair administrative action. A memo to all national school principals dated 31st January 2024 and signed by Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang directed institutions' heads to share school bank account details with the Office of the State Department Director General by Tuesday, the 6th of February 2024. This came on the backdrop of a directive given by Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u that all government services would be onboarded on the e-Citizen platform and every service will have access fees effective 14th of December 2023. Those sued are Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, Kenya Revenue Authority, and the Attorney General. Justice Mita directed Magare to serve his papers to the respondents and come back to court on the 13th of February for further directions. President William Ruto said that the payment of school fees through e-Citizen platform is unstoppable and vowed to crush any resistance by corruption cartels.
As we digitize government services, as is expected, there is a lot of resistance. It is about school fees in Kenya or money that is paid by parents.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. Coming up is our big conversation on the state of education. Do keep your comments and questions coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. But first, let us take a quick break. We'll be right back with even more.
So through the four gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins.
지셨고,
he carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Today's topic, we are going to discuss about cases of femicide in Kenya.
Me, I believe when we are growing up, hata ukichokozwa na kijana ulikuwa free kuambia mzazi. Naona, na ukilikuwa ukijua hata kusalimia kijana utashika mimba. kuvaa.
But I think
What am I
the
supposed
most
to?
important thing needs how yourself. If you appreciate yourself, hata mtu aongee nini, you're okay. Lakini if you're doing something because you need to please somebody so and so, ama social media, ile siku watasema vibaya, you go down. You understand? My husband, by the way.
Hey. How could you forget about him?
It's Kennedy. Ogweno.
Bado sijafika 65, single and searching.
Sawa. Hey, applications zitaanza kuna.
My daughter is Ivy Wanchiro. My son is Mark Yongera. Not forgetting about my husband. Adam Muruga.
Kini kuna wengine wanaleta noma. Hiyo Feb kama uleti flower au nipendi.
Jipende hata usipoletewa hiyo flower. Kama tu unapenda makeup. Tukuye makeup vizuri. Ukiangalia ukisema I'm beautiful, I love myself.
Today on the show, we are going to talk about what's the catch with Valentine's. As we are heading to Valentine's in some few days, what is it that you're expecting from your other partner?
Okay, upande wangu, Valentine kwanza ni kitu ya side yote. Unajua kwetu ladies, tunalemea wanaume sana.
Marriages and for the unity of couples, then we'll use that Valentine as a husband to make sure that my marriage is sealed and protected.
Kwa saizi, wanawake wanatarajia hiyo siku wapelekwe out na wanaume wao. Na saizo wanaume wao wanatarajia kupeleka mpango wa kando nje.
When they speak, I'm thinking deeply about the mind of a person, the heart of a person. And this is the world that no one can express.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned here at GBS News 9. Our big conversation begins right now on the state of education funding and payment of school fees via e-Citizen. Keep your conversation going on the same. The SMS line is 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. David Karani is here with me. He is a member of Elimu Bora Working Group. Good evening, Mr. Karani, and thank you for joining the broadcast.
Good evening.
And also joining us virtually is Benjamin Gulu. He is the Chief Manager, Sunrise Virtual School. Good evening, Mr. Benjamin, and welcome to the broadcast.
Good evening, Beatrice.
Thank you very much for joining the broadcast. And maybe to start with you, Mr. Benjamin Gulu, we just recently celebrated the International Day of Education. And you have seen since 2003, education has been declared both the primary and secondary free in this country. And now, assessing the situation, is education free and accessible for all so far?
Thank you so much, Beatrice, for this question. I'll say the free basic education is not really absolutely free. We've been progressively, as a country, been working towards that, but I would say it's not absolutely free.
Thank you so much. And now to you, Mr. Karani, we just celebrated the International Day of Education on the 24th of January. Now looking at what is stipulated in the Constitution in Article 43, Chapter 1, it talks about free education for both the primary and secondary school. Looking at the situation right now, are we looking at free education, free and accessible education for all?
The Constitution talks about free basic education, compulsory education. So far, we've not been able to achieve this as a country. We're still having conversations about school fees payment. We should be having a conversation on how to fund education for every child in this country, or every learner in this country, vis-a-vis the conversation that we're having about school fees. So the funding has not, we've not gotten there yet. It's something that we really ought to actually work hard towards that, where we can be able to offer quality basic, free basic education. When we talk about basic, we talk about primary and secondary level, so that every child in this country can be able to enjoy uninterrupted schooling for those 12 years of their lives. So it's something we really need to work towards as a country. As civil society, we've always been calling out to government to actually put more investment into education, because we shouldn't be having a conversation where we are talking about learners being out of school. So far, we are seeing almost 130,000 learners who are not able to join secondary school, which is a very big number. This is because of the financial constraints, which is a very sad affair. We are seeing government speaking in gatherings, in harambes, saying that all learners should go to school, but not issuing a circular towards that. So it's very important that when they talk about no learner should actually be at home, they should also issue a circular to go with that, so that all the school managers can be able to actually act on it. Because right now, what the Vice President was talking about, that any teacher who's going to send a child home is also going to be sacked. That is just something they talk about and they pack and go. But those parents are left now without any guidelines. It's important that we guide these parents to actually ensure that there is a way forward.
Is it the Vice President or the Prime Cabinet Secretary?
Actually, even Rigathi Gachagua yesterday was talking about any school manager who's going to be sending learners home is also going to be sacked, which is a very sad thing to actually talk about without issuing these parents with the proper guidelines. And I'm going to assure them, if today there is proper guidelines on how they're going to issue this and actually issue a circular, civil society are going to ensure that every parent who has a needy child will get that circular on time, so that we can take those learners to school to ensure that they get this constitutional right.
And back to you, Mr. Benjamin, you did say that it is not all students who are able to access, and education is not free from where you sit. And what is ailing the funding in the country? Do we need more allocation? And not forgetting that this year we had a 27.4% of the planned expenditure allocated to education. That is 628 billion. So what is needed? Is it the funds, or how and when they are distributed that is a problem?
Okay, thank you so much, Beatrice. I agree with the Wanakarani a lot on what he said about the issue of funding. The reason why this concessional item is not fully actualized, that is free and compulsory basic education, I would say is mainly because of funding. Looking at it, even from the recommendation by the Presidential Working Party recently, they recommended the capitation to be increased and to be reviewed every 3 years. Now, looking at it from that perspective, you can see that the problem is funding. The problem is funding. The government policies are there, but the funding is hardly enough it's not actually proportionate to the number of learners who need to access this basic education, that's primary and secondary. So I would say yes, the problem is funding, and we know that as a government, there's always a complaints of resources. The resources are not enough. Look at the current cost of living, the skyrocketing prices of basic commodities, and also the issues of corruption. A lot of money not going to the intended use in education circles. Even the capitation itself, we've had issues of corruption touching on the capitation. So I think it all rotates around the issue of funding. And if this could be sorted out and we close all the loopholes where the money is being mismanaged or wasted, then somehow I feel we'll be moving towards achieving that 100% free and compulsory basic education. Back to you, Beatrice.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Now back to you, Mr. Karani. Yesterday you held a press conference talking on the education funding, and you precisely addressed the issue of bursaries and talked about merging bursaries together and having a central placement for this bursary. Tell us more about it and how it will aid in terms of financing education.
Yesterday, Limubora issued a statement on what is happening in the country, or what is ailing the country in terms of what is happening in the education sector. We've recently seen instances where, as in events where we've seen a lot of people being embarrassed publicly when they are going to actually look for bursaries. We've seen a lot of bursaries being thrown around. The governors have a bursary, MPs have a NGCDF, the president has a bursary fund, senators are also working towards getting their own. And we're just asking, can we be able to actually merge all these funds and come up with a national funding, national education funding that will guarantee all learners free and basic education? Because we are looking at how these monies are being handled, and it's not something to actually be happy about. At this day and age, where we are seeing leaders actually making fun of the poor people who are coming to look for support, asking them, don't you have anything important you should be doing at home? We saw an incident in Nakuru, which was very ugly. And we also saw what happened in Kisii, where in a bursary issuing event, where shots were fired, people were fighting. And this is just another incident that we shouldn't be seeing in our education sector. We've also seen leaders who are actually saying, if you did not vote for me, you will not be getting this kind of support. And we're just saying, all these monies that are being thrown around, they should have at least, they should be put in one kitty and actually come up with a national education fund, which will guarantee every child, which will be open, transparent, so that every child can be able to apply, every needy child can be able to apply and get this money on time and when they need it. Because now we're looking at a situation where tokenism is coming back. The MPs are feeling like now we are the ones now to actually give these people tokens so that they can actually be able to vote for us again. So it's going to be, it's very bad. We need to depoliticize this process, because now we need to actually ensure that every child, including the vulnerable, children with special needs, children from needy backgrounds, the urban poor, the rural poor, can be able to access this. And also have a data. It will also be very important if you can have a national data. Who is getting these funds? At what level are these people enjoying these monies? Because we know it can be people cannot be talking about it, but we know there are people who are receiving multiple. Yeah? The people who are getting funds from from different sources going to the same learner. And also, if we can be able to streamline this and have an orderly manner of doing this, so that every learner can be able to actually enjoy education without being told that you're not a voter in this constituency, you did not vote for me, or being punished for the choices they made, which is our constitutional right. So we want, I know it's not going to be easy to take this away from the MPs. They're going to fight you all they can, because they've been using this for a very long time to do politics. It's been like a political vehicle. So Elimubora was talking about having a national educational fund, which is going to actually bring all this together. Because we look at what the president is having, what the governors are having, what MPs are having. It's coming to billions of money, which can actually ensure that these learners can actually do uninterrupted basic education smoothly. Yeah.
And now let us move to now a different conversation on the same in terms of payment of school fees via e-citizen. Just recently, we saw the Education Principal Secretary issue a circular to national school principals telling them that school fees should be paid via e-citizen, which was again halted due to a petition filed against it. Now, Mr. Benjamin, to you, what are your thoughts regarding this payment of school fees via e-citizen? Is it a step in the right direction?
Well, I think I want to just give this conversation some background. If you look at the e-citizen itself, over the years, many services, many government services have been migrated to e-citizen. I think on average around 5,000 government services, and now they're targeting to have all the government services onboarded onto the e-citizen portal. I think to the tune of 16,000 government services. I want to practically talk about some experiences we have had on the e-citizen. For example, on applying something like a driving license. There's a time getting this document was so difficult. You'll have to go to Hapail, you have to travel long distances, wait, and so forth and so forth. I want to narrow down this presentation and say onboarding government services to e-citizen is a welcome idea. I feel it's a step in the right direction, but also as Bonakarani puts it right, there shouldn't be very clear guidelines, sensitization, and also to ensure that this does not disrupt the normal educational processes. What do I mean? Let's look at, and it should not discriminate, because again, then it will be against the Constitution, if not to discuss the matters in court, but looking at it, we know like in rural areas where parents actually don't pay school fees by money. There are the cases where they work, and then maybe a worker is working in a school and the fees is deducted from their salary. Others pay school fees maybe using beans or mains. They deliver food to the school, and then an invoice is done as per the value of the goods they have supplied. So migrating it, somehow it's a good idea, as I've given that comparison with the experiences we've had with items like driving license, passport, which has become very easy to apply and get it. And there's a lot of middlemen and corruption which has been stopped by using e-citizen. But for the education sector, migrating the fees payment to e-citizen, in my opinion, is a good idea. But I think there's much which needs to be done so that it doesn't also affect some part of the population. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Karani, coming back to you, the e-citizen, paying the school fees via e-citizen, is this something that is well thought out, or was it too fast?
I think that is the next big scandal in this country. You're going to see a big scandal in that. That was a roadside declaration. We need to end those roadside declarations where somebody somewhere wakes up and decides you're going to be doing this. That was not discussed anywhere. Bello Kipsang woke up and started asking principals to send their account details. We are asking, has there been a problem with school fees payment? There's not been any problem with school fees payment. The only thing they started saying is principals are overcharging. If it is overcharging of learners, the government has all the machineries to ensure that that is capped. So when you talk about payment via e-citizen, we are seeing a lot that is going to happen that we cannot handle as a country or allow to happen as a country. For the longest time, schools have been managed by a BUM. The boards have been doing a very good job. The school managers have been doing a very good job. And now I don't see why somebody somewhere can decide now schools' money will be channeled to a certain place, and then the school principals will have to wait for this money to be channeled back to schools. We are seeing government is not remitting monies to the county on time. We are seeing an incident where school fees is paid, all of the school fees is paid, but it's not remitted to schools. What will happen? We'll have learners in schools waiting for money to be remitted from the government, which is going to be another wait. And parents will be told now, since money has not come, let us now look for other ways that we can be able to feed these learners before money is sent back to our centers. And also, what the good doctor in Nakuru has done, a very good gentleman who actually ensures that the rule of law is actually adhered to, and somebody who has really actually done a lot. Actually, he had also done a petition during the KCPE examination, actually, and got an order to stop the admission of Form 1. And I want to thank the good doctor because of what he's doing. He's speaking for many Kenyans who are not able to actually speak, the rural poor, the people who've been paying school fees in kind, people who come with whatever they have. If it's firewood they bring, even if it's labor, their parents who actually go and decide to work in the school to be able to actually pay the school fees. So what will happen to these people? So we're just asking, there has not been a problem with school fees payment. I don't know why somebody somewhere would wake up one day and decide we are going to channel all this money in one place. The other time, eCitizen had an issue, and the DCI were actually looking at it. 5.6 billion got lost in the system. And they started the investigation. They never told Kenyans what happened to that money. So we're just asking ourselves, the BOMs have been doing a good job, and I think we should call to an end to all this issue of doing a roadside declaration and then starting attacking school managers. Now we are seeing issues of now people in podiums saying, oh, school managers are corrupt, school managers are this. There's a clear way where schools, there's a system. There's an audit team that audits schools and releases reports. So we are asking, if you have any issue where monies have been lost, the school audits team would have already raised the issue. And we've seen TSC actually handling issues of teachers who misappropriated monies when they're school managers. We've seen them being punished. So we are asking, how do you just wake up one day and start saying teachers are mishandling monies in schools? We saw what happened to judiciary the other time. They started attacking judges, and judges actually went and did a deal. We don't know what happened when they went, and we saw the attacks stop. Now we are seeing attacks on teachers. Are teachers also going to do a deal? But we are saying, as Kenyans, we cannot allow for that to happen. Because that is going to be another scandal where we are going to see monies being lost. We should be having a conversation about free basic. Why are we having even a conversation about school fees payment, and where we should be working towards ensuring that every learner can get free basic education. Yeah. So the issue of channeling, that is a no. We are going to work towards ensuring civil society is going to ensure that never happens, because our learners are going to suffer, our parents are going to suffer. This issue of attacking teachers, we are seeing leaders. The other day we saw Aisha Juma saying this must happen, teachers are corrupt. If you're going to attack teachers and then expect that parents are going to respect teachers, how will that happen? We saw what happened the other day. Teachers were being attacked from classrooms, being frog-marched in front of their learners. That is the same thing that is going to happen when you start talking about teachers are mismanaging money without issuing proof. Just in political, because you see, teachers cannot be able to organize a political rally and talk to those people and tell them, but when you attack a profession, that is very, very bad. We are going to actually bring a very, very bad situation where parents are now starting going to even accusing teachers without evidence. So it's something that we should approach with caution. And if they are going to do public participation to ensure that all people in the education sector can actually be able to put their input on how to actually, the way forward on how to work on this.
Now, Mr. Benjamin, you talk about some of the successes of the eCitizen app, and of course, one payment system that the government services is going to have their services paid through this system. Now, looking at the education sector to the level of going to schools and getting the school fees paid via eCitizen, is it a pressing need to centralize the payment method of school fees?
Well, somehow, I'm a teacher, Banakarani, and as much as we may be opposed to this approach, my thinking of it is that ideally not all people are corrupt. You cannot generalize that all school leaders, managers, principals are corrupt. But it is true, we have some who have been levying and putting some charges and levies which are not really right, and end up overburdening the parents. Yes, the problem with the whole idea is that we might have situations, as Karani has rightly said, where the system's failure and so forth and so forth. But again, in an ideal situation, if this was properly managed and if money is going to come out in time, I would have felt this would have been a good idea. But I totally agree with Karani on the other hand, that there are a lot of fears in terms of will the monies be released to schools in time, because even the capitation and other amounts from the government normally delay. We have had in the past cases of delayed funding being delayed and so forth, inconveniencing the running of schools. I feel there was a necessity to do this. If you look at the whole idea, then government policies, of course, I don't speak for the government. The PS Treasury, Professor Ndungu, issued a Gazette notice on December 14th that they want to move all the government services to the e-citizen portal. And just if you look at it, even the declarations by the minister, the PS, Belio, it was again in line with those policies, notwithstanding the challenges and all that. But I feel as it were, there's need to move with the caution because of the amounts involved. When you look at all the public schools, for example, as for the memory and written to all national schools, the amounts are really big. And our systems able to handle this kind of, size of transactions. Is the government going to guarantee that the monies will be transferred to the schools at the right time? So as much as possible, I think the word here is caution. We need to move in caution to that direction so that we don't inconvenience the others. The bottom line and the word they've been using is that they want to enhance service delivery. But again, Mr. Karani has a lot of fears whether this is really the reality, given the experiences we have had with the government. And so personally, I would say it's just a matter of caution. And first of all, ensuring that we don't discriminate anyone. And going forward, if there are, for example, wrongs which have been happening in terms of misappropriation of funds, then what are we doing as a country, as a society, so that we eliminate these vices instead of just blanket condemnation of the whole profession and saying we are moving this because teachers are corrupt. For sure, I know there has been a lot of issues. Even look at the Form 1 intakes there, which just concluded the other day. People have been talking of them being told to pay this. If not so, my son will not go. And the corruption issue is a big problem in this country. I personally, I know that is a big problem. And if, whatever the case, I think the government should not just through the e-citizen, put their foot on the ground and really address the issue of corruption in this country. And lastly, I also want to say, also detach education from the politics of the day. Yes, the politics of this country have actually permeated in almost every sphere, in every part, in every sector, so that these guys are the ones who make policies, laws, to govern the education sector. And so they want everything to be done, and there's always some political connotation to everything happening in this country. I would feel, yes, the intention could be good, but I don't think we are 100% ready for it. Yes, it is good looking at what the digital economy and digitizing everything and services, government services has been doing. But for the education, looking at the numbers, the figures, I think a bit of caution is required. Thank you.
Mr. Karani, now listening from what Benjamin was talking about, he did talk about being a teacher himself and saying that not all the schools, but some of the schools do have these corrupt officials and head of schools who are taking advantages and increasing more levies, and that is an argument that someone can bring. Now, looking at the schools, the way for the government to eliminate these additional levies above the stipulated guidelines gazetted by the government when it comes to school fees, is it more convenient for the parents on your end? e-Citizen?
I think it's a very sad situation when government comes to crying to the people that we have school managers who are corrupt, who are charging excess. You are the government. You have the instruments of power. Why don't you decide to put up a complaint desk for all the parents who can be able to channel the complaints? You've set the target. You tell them this is the amount to be paid, and anyone who will be charged anything above that to report to this number. I don't know why you want to make it so hard that the government of the day cannot decide to put up a policy that will ensure that guidelines to ensure that nobody is paying excess. If the government of the day is keen on ensuring that no parent will be overcharged, they can do it. They have all the instruments. They have the educational officers in the ground. They have the CSOs. They have all the people in the ministry. They even have the police and anti-corruption. I don't know why you're coming to rush to people and telling them, oh, the schools. You know, I tend to think this is now a clear case where where they are saying when they want to eat their own children, they start saying they smell like differently. Now this is the point where we are starting to see teachers being said now they are behaving differently. Because now I don't know why you can tell us as a government that you're not able to whip the knee and ensure that all monies are paid in according to the circular. So that is not an excuse saying that their school managers who are overcharging parents. If you want to crack the whip, you will do it in a day. So that is not what you can tell. BOMs have been doing a very good job. For the longest time, we've had schools being run in a very orderly manner. And I don't know why we want to spoil this. If it's not broken, I don't know why we are fixing it.
Mr. Karani, sadly, time is not on our side. Suddenly, in a minute, your parting shot.
My parting shot is let us be cautious on how we treat education. Let's stop this trial and error when it comes to educational matters. Before you engage in anything, ensure that actually you know the pros and cons. And let's stop these roadside declarations where somebody wakes up and decides to just declare that we are going to be moving this way without actually engaging the teachers. The teachers and also the teaching profession, also civil society. We just let us stop treating education casually with these trial and errors that we're having in this country. That's my parting shot. Let us be more cautious how we approach educational matters in this country, and also governance matters. We should not just be waking up and deciding this is the way to go.
Mr. Benjamin, your parting shot in a minute.
Okay, thank you, Karani, for this conversation. Mine is just brief. I look forward to a Kenya where we can detach and depoliticize our education, so that we don't look at everything with political lenses. I look forward to a situation whereby politics and education will be like water and oil. I'm looking at also a situation that we are in a digital world. Things are moving, but again, I want to pray that politicians don't take advantage of situations to confuse the masses. Yes, the schools have been trying; they have been doing well, but I think there's also a fight we need to fight as a country, which is corruption, which is permeated into even educational sector, in almost every sphere of our lives. While the managers, the principals, and the government ministry officials are doing their good job, the government need to really put their foot on the ground so that they deal with these corrupt individuals or cartels in whichever sector, more so in the education sector, going forward, so that when good policies come, they can be implemented and there will be no suspicion or fear of unknown, or even resistance for that matter. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
This conversation and for giving your wonderful insights, and we do make sure to pick up on the same as it develops on matters of payment of school fees via eCitizen. And do make sure to keep your comments and questions coming in as well. The SMS line is 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. And now moving to matters international news. In Zimbabwe recently on Tuesday, the government made a significant move towards justice reform, where the cabinet agreed to abolish the death penalty for murder offenses, marking a pivotal moment in the country's legal history. Here is more on the same.
This decision reflected on the growing recognition of the need for a fair and balanced penal system in Zimbabwe through abolishing the death penalty, with the government now signaling its commitment to human rights and justice reforms.
Approved the abolition of the death penalty and agreed that the circumstances attracting death penalty options include where the murder is committed against a prison or police officer or minor or pregnant woman, or it is committed in the course of other serious crimes, or where there is premeditation, in view of the need to retain the deterrent element in the sentencing of murderers. It is expected that the new law will impose lengthy sentences without violating the right to life. The existence of aggravating circumstances may attract life sentences.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa, himself a former death row inmate, played a central role in this historic decision, with his personal experience perspective influencing the stance on the same subject, marking a significant step forward for Zimbabwe's death penalty, a barbaric and outdated practice that has now found no place in the contemporary society.
Zimbabwe has taken the right step to ensure that the death penalty is abolished in the country. We are also taking note that the cabinet has given a nod, and we are hoping that Parliament will be able to pass a piece of legislation that will ensure that the death penalty is committed to the dustbins of history.
This abolishment categorized Zimbabwe in joining ranks with other countries committed to upholding human dignity and justice for all.
As Amnesty International, we oppose the death penalty in all circumstances, regardless of the nature of the crime. It is not consistent with human rights articles and statutes. It is a violation of fundamental human rights that are provided for in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
As Zimbabwe moves forward with this historic decision, many now hope that this move will serve as a catalyst for further reforms and a brighter future for the country's legal system, through the announcement which was met with celebration in the streets of Zimbabwe by many who perceived it as a long-awaited victory for justice and human rights in their country. Jennifer Macau, GBS News.
Thank you, Jennifer Macau, for that detailed report. Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That international news brings us to our sports news. Let's get sporty. Kakamega Homeboys beat KCB 2-1 to move a notch higher in the 8th place after the two sides shared a 9th slot on the FKF log. The win puts Homeboys in fair position as far as finishing in the mid-table, having lost to Leopards last week. These two sides impressed a sellout crowd which had turned up to cheer them. In the last 3 matches, KCB had only conceded 0 goals. Meanwhile, Kakamega Homeboys had conceded only 1 goal in their last 3 games. KCB had drawn 9 of their last 18 matches on their own soil, including their most recent match when they drew 0-0 with Muhoroni Youth at home in January. The government will consider a review of the tax structure for sports equipment to ensure the accessibility and affordability of the sporting tools. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi hinted at the move, emphasizing its potential to encourage participation in sports, particularly among the youth, as a viable source of livelihoods and investment. Mudavadi, who also serves as the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, emphasized that sports should no longer be viewed as exclusive to the elite, but rather as a venture accessible to all. Speaking at the prize-giving ceremony of the winners of the 2024 Magical Kenya Ladies Open European Golf Tournament at Vipingo Ridge in Kilifi County, Mudavadi challenged the perception that certain sports such as golf are reserved for the privileged few. He highlighted the emergence of the great talents from humble backgrounds, underscoring the need to ensure equal access to sporting opportunities. He stressed the importance of instilling discipline and focus among the youth, emphasizing that sports, when harnessed effectively, can offer significant returns. Single European golfer Shannon Tan emerged as the champion of the 2024 Magical Kenya Ladies Open, earning a prize of 7.7 million euros at the PGA pop-up Vipingo Ridge Golf Course.
Part in this competition. It is a good learning curve for them. And 3 of those girls are going with us to South Africa on Saturday next week to expose them to such kind of golf. And we hope they would have learned something from today to be able to carry it forward. As we move forward, the Kenya Ladies Golf Union celebrates no less than 92 years of being at the helm of ladies golf in Kenya. Since the beginning of Women Representing Body has supported clubs, society, and national teams to fly the Kenyan flag high. We are proud to have achieved of the women's game, amongst other things.
Sports for us is an area that we know is a passion point for Kenyans. We are involved in various sports, so Prime Cabinet Secretary and CS Sports and also PS. We are happy to partner with the government across all sports areas. We are very big with Chapadima, which is in football. We are big, of course, with golf, and we have been involved.
We are happy that most of the ladies started as juniors in the Junior Golf Foundation and have participated in both junior and amateur tournaments under the Kenya Ladies Golf Union.
Kenya is now a visa-free destination. The President of Kenya made a pronouncement that with effect from 1st of January this year, Kenya shall be a visa-free nation. His simple message is that Kenya is the cradle of mankind.
Ivory Coast produced a fairy tale ending of the most remarkable run at the Africa Cup of Nations as Sebastian Haler's winner completed a 2-1 comeback win with Nigeria in the final. The hosts lost 2 of their group stage matches, sacked their manager, and then pulled off a penalty shootout victory and a 122 minutes winner of their way, booking an improbable place in the final. And yet, just under 3 weeks after they were hammered 4-0 by Equatorial Guinea to end Jean-Louis Gasset's reign and leave them on the brink of elimination, Ivory Coast served up another memorable night, this time one that sparked wild celebrations in Abidjan. They were very much better side in the opening 45 minutes, but William Trust's header against the run of play gave Nigeria advantage at the break. Frank powered home a header from a set piece in the hour mark, and Haler then completed the turnaround with the 10 minutes remaining as he flicked a brilliant finish into the far corner after yet a superb work from Simon Adrigra. Ivory Coast held firm, lifting the AFCON trophy for a 3rd time. Host Qatar retained the Asian Cup with a 3-1 win on Saturday against Surprise Packages Jordan as Akram Afif scored a hat-trick of penalties. It was a fitting final act to a month of football that began with 24 teams and witnessed a series of dramatic games and plenty of goals. Ranked 87th in FIFA's world ranking, 29 places below their opponents, they fell behind midway through their first half when forward Afif held his nerve serve with a penalty for his 6th goal of the tournament. Qatar fully deserved the halftime lead, but Jordan roared back to equalize through Yazan and smart finish. The underdogs were level, however, just 6 minutes, Afif slotting home once again from the penalty spot after the referee was advised by VAR to go his pitchside monitor. Qatar came into the final attempt to become the 5th team to lift back-to-back Asian titles and hoping to erase the bitter memories of their home World Cup. On their way to the final, Jordan had defeated South Korea 2-0. The completion, originally scheduled to take place in China last year, but postponed and moved because of COVID, will be remembered for shocks, even as the final failed to produce one last night. Pre-tournament favorites Japan were dumped out in the quarterfinals by Iran, who subsequently lost to Qatar in a 5-goal thriller. Scott McTominay's late bullet head secured Manchester United's 3rd consecutive Premier League win as the Reds beat Aston Villa 2-1, away closed the gap on the 5th-placed host 5 points. It was McTominay's quarter of the game left, but Erik ten Hag has spoken ahead of the kickoff about the importance of everyone stepping up again. And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Here at GBS News 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.